Doug Wyllie with Police Magazine here at ILEETA 2022 in St. Louis, Missouri. This is Coffee with Police Experts. I'm with Todd Fletcher, a good friend of combative firearms training, and we will get into a variety of topics over the course of the next couple of hours when we're talking offline. But one of the things that I really wanted to hear from you today is what you're teaching this year at ILEETA. I saw the title of the seminar, if you want to call it that. I think it's more like a browbeating than anything else. Practice what you suck at. You and I, we enjoy being good at stuff. We're type A folks and we like winning. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, they don't practice what they suck at. I got this because I don't like sit-ups very much. So we do tend to practice the things that we are good at. Now, tell me about what you're teaching these trainers and these instructors, how they will then take that to the people they're instructing, to encourage them, you know your faults and your weaknesses, now you got to work on them. Tell me all about what you're doing here.
So this class, Practice What You Suck At, is all about getting people kind of outside their comfort zone.
Yeah.
Most of the time when we go to the range, whether it's in-service training or our own personal practice sessions, we have a tendency to continue to practice the things we're good at. And it's important to do that so that you can maintain that skill level and continue to improve, right? But we also have a tendency to avoid doing those things that we kind of suck at because it's a blow to our ego, right? So nobody likes to be bad at something. Well, the way to get over that is to practice and get better, right? So a couple of years ago, I came to a conclusion that I wasn't as good as I wanted to be with, in particular, handgun skills, shooting one-handed, strong hand only or support hand only, drawing from my holster with my support hand only, doing one-handed reloads, those kinds of things. And I realized that if you're in a fight for your life, under life-threatening stress, well, I realized a couple of things. Number one, you're not going to magically acquire skill, right, in the middle of a fight for your life. And so you have to practice that stuff ahead of time. And number two, if you're in a fight for your life shooting one-handed, that's a bad day to begin with.
Yeah.
So you better be as good as you can possibly be in order to prevail. And it really struck home, and I started thinking about, what do I do now that's preventing me from getting better with my one-hand skills?
Yeah.
Well, what I was doing was not practicing them like I was supposed to or should have been. So I made a commitment to myself that every dry fire practice session, every live fire practice session that I did for me was going to include some strong hand only and some support hand only drills. Not exclusively, not exclusive to everything else.
Right, you're not taking away from something else. It's addition, really. I mean, you're not substituting out something. Right.
Just adding this, I'm going to do a one-hand shooting drill of some sort. And it was interesting because all of a sudden it became more important to me. I got that in my conscious mind that I needed to improve, and so then I started working on it, right? And it was one of those things where in our classes that we do, I would ask instructors, what are some skills that you need to work on of your skill set, right? Not just your students, but your skill set. And universally, it was our one-handed skills. Whether it's a rifle class, running a rifle with one hand, a shotgun class, running a shotgun with one hand, a handgun, it was universal, and everybody kind of came back to, my one-hand skills kind of suck. And so that's where that class came from, Practice What You Suck At.
So, and I think of this when I think of practice what you suck at. First, you have to know what you suck at. Many people do. Most people probably have some degree of denial.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm fine. You don't want to do it, so therefore you're in this. But you have to come to an acceptance and an admission of guilt. I'm a civilian and I shoot and train with law enforcement. Generally speaking, I'm in the lower third. If I'm at the 50 percentile in that class, I'm feeling pretty good about myself. So I look around and I know that I'm not as skilled as some of the other fellas and gals in the class. I look at them and I go, okay, that I can do better, but I have to admit it. And then I have to do it in front of other people. I have to be bad at something in front of people who I want respect from. I want them to think, hey, this guy's not so bad, but I have to prove that I'm willing to show that fault and that flaw, and then in so doing, say, hey, I'm going to address this. Now you're dealing with law enforcement officers, type A, folks. It's really hard to cross that bridge sometimes. How do you coax them through that process?
Well, it takes some self-awareness and some self-reflection,
Yes.
just like you said. But it always starts with one of our leadership principles, which is check your ego.
Yeah.
Right. In all of our classes, we begin with a question for the entire class, which is there anybody in this room who feels that their shooting skills or their instructor skills are as good as they will ever be? Right.
Okay.
Well, nobody's going to raise their hand.
Yeah.
Right? They may think that, but they're not going to raise their hand.
They're not going to admit to it, yeah.
So then I say, look around the room. You have just given every single person in this room permission to coach you up and make you better.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then we get into our leadership principles, one of which is check your ego.
Mm-hmm.
And in the firearms world, man, there's a
It's
lot of ego, right?
It's tough.
And so, we set the tone early in our classes about set your ego aside. We are all here to make each other better.
Mm-hmm.
If we leave the range today, tomorrow, at the end of the week, and we aren't better as shooters and instructors, coaches, mentors, and leaders, we have not done our job.
Mm-hmm.
We need to do better. And so coming to that self-awareness of, hey, we can't let ego get involved here. We need to do better is really how it starts.
Yeah. So now you've taken that person, you've checked their ego, you've encouraged them to have real sense of self-awareness, admission of, I don't want to say guilt, but admission of a flaw or an opportunity for in advancement. You've gotten them to this place. Now, how do you encourage them to continue that process of re-examine? Now they've mastered a thing that they hadn't yet previously mastered.
Right.
There's something else. There's always something more. There's always a next step.
There always is, because there's never a finish line.
Yeah.
Right. It's constant growth. But I'll give you a really good example. In our Practice What You Suck At class this week, we started with some slow fire, precision type shooting drills.
Yeah, like
strong hand only
dot
support.
drill.
Yeah, one hole drills,
Yeah.
those kinds of things, where it gave them time. There was no time to rest. But then we started pushing the envelope on time. And a lot of people, instructors included, have never really pushed themselves to find what their limits are when they are working one-handed,
Yeah.
right? Because at home on the range, we've got all qualification, we've got ridiculous time limits, right? And so everything is done really, really precision shooting. Well, in a fight for your life, accuracy matters.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you got to hit what you shoot at, but so does time.
Yeah.
Right. So now we're putting them under more time duress, making hits with their strong hand, their support hand, making headshots, target transitions, elevation changes, these kinds of things. Really ramping it up. Things that they have done with two hands.
Yeah.
Right. But now all of a sudden you're having them do all this stuff one-handed, including the reloads and all this other stuff, and all of a sudden they start feeling like the new kid.
Yeah.
Once again.
Yeah. So I read that. I haven't been to your class yet. I do hope to go. But I saw the title of it, and I was immediately gripped with a little bit of fear, honestly, because it is, you have to face your demons. You have to face the things that you don't want necessarily to look at. What are you hearing from people that, they, before they come in, and then maybe perhaps after they've left, I had to face this, I had to come to this conclusion and admit this to myself. What are you hearing about your class?
Well, the feedback that we've got has been overwhelmingly positive, and that's very humbling, because anybody that has ever been to ILEETA knows that spending 4 hours in any one place is a big commitment,
investment,
right? Because there's so much going on here, And the fact that these people came out and spent their afternoons with us instead of going to another class or two in that time frame is incredible. But the feedback that we got was, man, you're right. I need to work on these things. I need to get better here, not only for filling my gaps, but we need to take this mindset back to our home range and our agencies and apply this concept so that we can make our people better.
Well, making your people better and challenging in ways that they really need to stretch themselves is one of the probably ways in which you win something like Trainer of the Year. Todd Fletcher, I want to thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Join us once again next time for more Coffee with Police Experts for Police Magazine. I'm Doug Wyllie.